Hey y'all, welcome to this week's session of The Good, the Bad, and the Truth. It's your girl Naya Angel here with my co-host Mr. PAT and E-Man. What's up, fellas?
Good, everybody.
What's good? What's good? What's good?
Ooh-wee. We have some topics to discuss this week, fellas. So I'm going to jump right in because how could we not jump right in with this story, right? This story broke, this issue broke, and it is all over the internet, all over your social media. You know, you log on to any of those apps and it's somebody posting something about it. So let's talk about Mr. Derrick Jaxn. The official question, and I know this is going to get interesting, so let me just premise this entire episode with this note for our listeners out there. As we've said many times before, here at The Good, the Bad, the Truth, we are always going to give it to you straight and exactly how we feel on an individual subject. It is by no means ever any of our intent to purposely offend anyone. However, these are our individual views on these topics, and these views that come from some may not be representative of the group as a whole. So with that said, please note we appreciate you listening, and we want to make sure that it's understood that these are our views on the subject and do not intend to infringe on anyone's lifestyle. So with that said, the question for this topic specifically is, what are your thoughts on the Derrick Jaxn situation? Go ahead and throw this to my man PAT. What say you, sir?
All right. So my thoughts on this Derrick Jaxn situation. So I'm going to come at this from a different angle because, of course, we've heard what a ton of people had to say. We see the internet going nuts. People posting blogs, articles, and what have you. So I'm going to go at this from a different angle. First, let's look at Derrick Jaxn's brand and let's look at his numbers. Derrick Jaxn is described as a YouTuber, self-love ambassador, author, and entrepreneur. His following is in the millions. On YouTube, Mr. Jaxn currently has over 700K subscribers. On his Facebook, he currently has 3.7 million followers. And on his Instagram, he has 1.3 million followers.
Someone did their homework.
Right. Yeah. So, obviously, at this point, we've heard about Mr. Jaxn's indiscretions. Like I said before, the internet's going nuts. Basically, the internet damn near broke. I personally didn't care at first. And really, to be honest, I didn't even want to cover the story, but people kept talking about it and it became hard to ignore. So for me, I'll just put it like this. Instead of engaging in stupid gossip about the multiple women this man cheated on his wife with, I figured this could be an opportunity to tackle this with a different perspective, a different outlook. Now, I brought up Jaxn's numbers because it seems that while this news has been shocking and disappointing to a lot of women, the fact is he still has a huge following. Now, I'm sure quite a few people unfollowed him, but it seems like a majority of people didn't. So what this tells me is that women aren't as upset as they have claimed to be. Of course, there's all kinds of commentary out there, but the fact is a lot of these women are sticking around. And I'm saying women because, I'm sure he has men that follow him, but let's be real. The majority of his fans and followers are women.
Right.
This guy has a new book and is currently selling it for 50% off. He's even upselling with his other books and his courses.
Wow.
So what he did is took a bad situation and used it as an opportunity to sell more product. Now, women have bought into this man for a long time. And I'll say that I always knew about Derrick Jaxn, but I never gave his videos much of my time and energy. I've always seen them online, just kind of popping up. I've seen women share them on Facebook or whatever else. So he's always been in my periphery. However, I did know that his videos were about uplifting women. And uplifting women is fine, but he did this in a way that held men accountable while not holding women accountable. And at some point, it became obvious that he was pandering. Let's just be real here. He was pandering.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of his videos, and I could acknowledge that the content in his videos were based in common sense. But at the same time, what happened was he created this sort of flawless image for himself and women. And I'm going to say especially Black women, because I know a lot of Black women invested in him.
Of course.
They bought into him. Jaxn spoke on the flaws of men while uplifting women. But the thing is, this created an imbalance. He never held women accountable. In a way, he sold these women on fairy tales. And I'll just be real. I think in a way that's dangerous. And I say that it's dangerous because now women are holding men to a standard that they themselves aren't required to uphold. We hear about how men need to be better and do better, but some of these same women are allowed to not improve themselves in order to qualify for this great man that they're in search of.
I have a good answer to that.
I'll admit that I haven't watched all of his videos, and maybe there are some videos where he holds women accountable, but after watching enough of his videos, it is clear that what he was doing was very calculated and very much targeted to women. Clearly, he was pandering, and anything along the lines of relationship and marriage advice, and anything along those lines, that type of commentary, I think is always a slippery slope. Now, let's fast forward to now where Mr. Jackson's dirty laundry has been aired out, and he's been exposed as a fraud and a hypocrite. The same men that he was scolding and waving his finger at is the same type of man that he himself actually is. Kind of funny when you think about it. So I think this is an opportunity for people to yet again be reminded not to idolize people or put people on a pedestal. We shouldn't be doing that with anybody, famous, non-famous, celebrity, non-celebrity, or whatever else. All people are fallible. We have to stop having these unrealistic expectations of certain people. The fact of the matter is everyone falls short. Everyone's flesh is weak. So while some of these people might put out good content that we can resonate with, depending on what it is, the fact is those same people putting out the content might not live up to it. And yes, it will make that person or persons a hypocrite. But we have to learn to put the message over the messenger. The message itself.
Those are very interesting concept that you just said.
What, putting the message over the messenger?
Yes.
Yeah,
I love it. I love that.
And that's really, I think that's what we all need to do. We just need to put the message over the messenger, because I think oftentimes we focus too much on the messenger. I mean, we listen to the message, we get the message, we love the message, but then we shift over to focusing on the messenger. And I think the message itself is more important than the messenger. I think people in general, we get caught up in image, and we get caught up in personality. We're in an era of social media where anyone can jump online and be fake as fuck and be able to prosper. There are people who are lying about who they are, how much money they make, and God knows whatever else that they might be lying about. So nowadays, it's hard to decipher the real from the fake, which leads into another point I'd like to touch on. Some of the women out there saying they'd leave Derrick Jaxn after what he did, honestly, I think are lying. Now, some are probably telling the truth, but I think a lot of them are lying. They're lying to themselves and they're lying to the social media world. I mean, we know that some women would actually leave and that there are women who walk away from marriages every day, but there are also many women out there who don't just pick up and walk away. The men that they are with cheat all day, every day, and they still stick around. So when it comes to men like Derrick Jaxn, whose net worth is in the millions, and I looked that up, his net worth is in the millions.
How big is his network? I'm just curious.
I think from what, if I remember correctly, it's like 1.5 million.
Okay, so he's a small millionaire.
Yeah, but he got $1 million.
Yeah, I gotta respect that though.
Yeah, I respect that. He got $1 million. He got $1 million. So some of these women are gonna stay. Let's be real, they will stay if they have the access to the money, the cars, the lifestyle, etc. They will put up with some indiscretions. This is something that happens.
Also, love could be love.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
I mean,
I know that's an old-fashioned thing, but it could be a part of it.
I'll say, love too. But the thing is, they'll put up with some indiscretions, and I say that because, as we all know, this is something that happens all the time. Now, at least there were some women online who were honest and saying that, they wouldn't leave him.
Mm-hmm.
But the women questioning why Derrick Jaxn's wife didn't leave, I think some of them are just saying that his wife should leave or that they leave, because I think it's just easy to say. It's easy to say until the situation actually presents itself. That's actually true, but I actually have a really good answer behind that. Actually, okay, I'm gonna wrap it up because I know I'm. But you're good. But yeah, so my thing is, maybe if the man is broke and hasn't really brought much to the table in the relationship and marriage, I think it'd be easier for a woman to leave. But if it's a man producing at a high level, I honestly don't think they're leaving that easily. In fact, not at all. In fact, I think some women out there wish that they were Derrick Jaxn's wife. I mean, I know that's probably a controversial thing to say, but I'm just being real. I think some women that is real would rather be in Derrick Jaxn's wife's place. Of course, they wouldn't want to be cheated on, but they would want to have access to his wealth and resources. We all know that no one in their right mind wants to be cheated on. But if a woman had to choose whether she'd rather be with a broke man who cheats or a rich man who cheats, I think they choose the rich man. So, I think it's easy to sit back and engage in mindless gossip and so-called drag people. But I say to people, people out there, what about you? What about your marriage? What about your relationship? People find the time to gossip about others. Meanwhile, their own marriages are failing or have failed. Their own relationships are failing or they have failed. This Derrick Jaxn situation is really just a microcosm for what happens out there in the real world on a regular basis. Yeah. I think this whole thing is not only a time to fall back on placing people on pedestals that they really shouldn't have been on in the first place, but it is also a time for people to reflect on themselves and their own flaws and their own imperfections. It's time for people to reflect on themselves and understand that humanity, unfortunately, is messy. Relationships and marriages can be messy, celebrity or otherwise. People need to learn to look more within and stop comparing and contrasting with other people's relationships or marriages. Stop looking at celebrity marriages and creating marriage goals, quote unquote marriage goals based off of that. And focus on how you can strengthen your own relationships and marriages on you and your partner's own terms. So just to end it off, I'm gonna say Derrick Jaxn being exposed as a fraud and a hypocrite, it's hurting some Black women out there. And it's hurting them because Derrick Jaxn and his advice was a form of escapism. It was a form of escapism from the reality that while men are imperfect and make imperfect choices a lot, women still have to learn how to self-evaluate and reevaluate themselves and see where they have gone wrong. Derrick Jaxn was also a form of escapism because he created an image, whether intentional or not intentional, of himself that he himself didn't live up to. And some Black women bought into that image. Now that we see the dents in his armor, we know that the reality is people need to take these relationship experts or these relationship gurus' advice with a grain of salt. So this goes back to what I said last time, as far as we need to focus on the message and not the messenger. And I'm on that.
I agree. And just remember, we can't be saving hoes.
Well, Eman, it's we definitely gonna throw it to you next and let you you speak on that in the left.
So before I get in, I'm just letting everybody know, E-Man's about to talk reckless, on this subject,
What's new?
It ain't nothing new, but yeah. But before I even start off, I want to say, fuck Charlamagne the God. I'm not even gonna lie. So this fool come do his whole donkey of the day thing and whatnot. And his hype is only going off, that song, Black Men Don't Cheat and whatnot. So, he been really hyping himself since he got his little part in that song, and everything. But, for me, I'm being sick and tired of silly Black brothers like Charlamagne who want to talk down on other Black brothers, that this is a common thing that happens with everybody. So I don't know why he had to go that far to go do something like that. But to him, I'm gonna just keep it like, you a bitch ass nigga. But
whoa.
Now,
okay.
Hey. All right.
I had to get that off my chest because that joint was burning me all day, the whole week. Now, so my man Derrick Jaxn, all right, so seems like, a little bit of a millionaire. I'm sorry, he's a millionaire. I apologize. No disrespect to him. But from the angle, how I see it is, I think the man is really in a polygamy-like union. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I saw the video with his wife. I don't know, but it was very interesting how his wife it wasn't like she didn't look presentable, but the simple fact was she had like a bonnet on while they showed like his other supposedly side pieces that looked like, like tens and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak on that actually.
So I'm sitting over here like, you about to do an interview and you don't look, I wouldn't say slightly presentable, but to the sense of like, I know many, Black women, when it comes to certain things, they make sure, they going at 110. She walked in that interview like she was like 25, 30% in it and whatnot. Just the way how, what she was looking like. That was just me, But I'm not taking anything from her, but it's just the simple fact was like, it looked like she was playing a role at that moment, knowing that she's still going to stay with her husband. So that's my take on her part. But towards like Derrick, he's still a young Black brother who still is doing all the right things. Is he hiding the simple fact that he could be in a polygamy union? Probably, because many people don't even accept that, because like PAT stated, he didn't lose too many followers. Not much has changed. Seemed like he sold his book at 50%. So that means you're winning, your brand itself is not tarnished nor damaged, but yet you hurt a few Black women who haven't taken the responsibility of their lives because they're looking at Derrick as someone, as like, as Pat said, like, a guru or like, a relationship expert. And I feel like this is the same thing that falls back on like how Steve Harvey was at that time, when Think Like a Man came out, and then everyone was going to him for relation like advice and whatnot. But I laughed at him because the fact was is like we're going to people that are, I wouldn't say like they're in or out, but it's the sense of like we're holding these people to high standards to relationships, yet there's no real like formula behind relationships. There's like many different relationships that you can have now, and that over time many people have all different types of relationships. Like I think the one biggest thing, like many people make fun of Maya because of the simple fact she wants to have more of a relationship with herself, and people thought that was crazy. But then we had people downing a young Black brother because he cheated, but yet when we look at all other different communities, don't they cheat too? So why don't we hold everyone to the same standard? But it seems like when it comes to a Black male, it's like, oh no, like you did wrong and whatnot, And that's the thing that I'm always having to see, that we treat everyone differently on these same situations and whatnot, Because I can tell everyone like this: 50% of the US have divorces. Divorces are so bad to the point that they make money off of it,
And the rate's still going up.
And the rate is still going up.
Yep.
And I was just about to say, the rate is still going up, So before we even try to destroy that Derrick, Jaxn's like image, make sure you look at yourself. 1, 2, this is a common thing that's going on. And 3, and I'm gonna just throw this in and whatnot, that based on my research that I've been looking at, it's been saying and constantly and looking back at like how the universe is that they say that men are more likely not just to cheat, but it's common within their nature and whatnot. Because if something wasn't natural, it means it wouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. Unnatural things are unnatural. When something is not, it means it's of essence of like your DNA. But everyone just needs to take the time, because when I mean the internet went crazy, the YouTubers did skits on him and his wife, and it just went down there from there and there. And towards their art, I respect their art, because it's funny. But we need to make sure, if y'all gonna sit here and talk trash about Derrick, make sure y'all talk about everybody who's sitting there cheating. Don't matter what creed it is. So don't just look at this Black man because what I'm saying, because just because he's successful. There's basketball players that cheat on their wife, football players. We'll have a huge list, but y'all don't need to be bringing that man down. And that's the reason why I haven't really discussed about Charlamagne the God, because what he did, that really disgusted me. Like, it bothered me a lot for a whole week, and I've been waiting to air that out, But I'm gonna let Nine Angel, and I'm gonna just hand it back to you.
All right. Thank you, sir. So I have to giggle this out because, fellas, I'm going to tell you, you guys will always be my homies for life. And there are some things that the two of you just said that I agree with, and the rest of it is a bunch of hogwash.
We still love you, though.
We still
love you guys. We
disagree.
Gettysburg.
Remember, it's always about this.
Let's dive right in. So, sir, first things first, I'm gonna address what Pat was talking about with putting people on the pedestal and understanding the importance of the message over the messenger. 100% agree, no argument there. The gist of your point is 100% spot on. Yeah, I mean, for me, it goes back to the Cardi B situation. It's even going to relate to this Lil Nas X situation for me. The whole thing is we should not be making celebrities icons from the perspective of trying to live our life like them. We shouldn't be doing that for celebrities or anyone. We have to learn to find our own way. It's okay to get the message, as you mentioned, Pat, without putting the messenger on a pedestal when that messenger is a human. It's that simple. Humans are flawed in nature. Mm-hmm. So whenever one is presenting themselves as perfect, it's a red flag.
Yep.
However, I do have to comment on the notion that his wife could have stayed, and I know you didn't say she did directly, you spoke in general terms, but could have stayed because of his income. I watched the interview with him and his wife, and that is not what I took from it. As a woman, I've been in that position. And you all know me, accountability is my modus operandi, it's how I work. Okay. Yes. I take accountability for the fact that I stayed in a relationship way longer than I intended to. And in said relationship, it was a situation where we were financially equivalent. And I tell you, my number one driver was not money or love either. It was habit. You get used to a person. You get used to a lifestyle with that person. And it goes beyond money sometimes to the fact where, hey, this person is familiar with my family. I'm familiar with their family. If you have children, the children play a part. You start thinking about separating them. And are you being selfish if you want to separate them, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going into excuses for why every individual woman decides to stay with a man who cheats or vice versa. But what I'm saying is there are definitely key elements that have nothing to do with financials. There are sometimes just certain levels of comfort.
Yeah, I agree.
There are just instances where you are with your spouse and you are comfortable in that lifestyle, right? You've established a certain lifestyle together where the thought of moving away from that becomes unbearable. Now, again, that's not to say that if it is the right thing to do to move on from that person, that it's okay to not do it just because you're comfortable, not making excuses there. Everybody has their own cross to bear. But I just wanted to note that there are alternate reasons why, especially as a woman who has lived through this experience, you decide to stay and stick it out. Not saying it's wrong or right, just saying that they do exist.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just real quick, I totally agree with everything you just said. And yeah, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, well, this guy has all this money, so a woman's gonna just stay because he has money. Right. I just think money's one factor, but yeah, there's definitely multiple other factors. So I just want to put that out there.
Of course.
Absolutely. And so, okay, so Mr. Imser, let me tell you, I watched the Charlamagne interview. I watched the Derrick Jaxn interview. I did some research on the fella. Again, I will admit I don't know everything about everything. I was not an avid follower of his before this story came out. But let me tell you this.
Either.
I 199,000,000% agree with every single word Charlamagne said about this dude.
Yeah,
every word of it.
I'm gonna keep it real. I listened to Donkey of the Day actually today, and I do agree with Charlamagne.
Every word Charlamagne said about this dude being a narcissist is spot on. So, okay, before I watched the video of Charlamagne's Donkey of the Day, I did the research myself. And I said, I'm going to watch that last because I don't want it to change my perspective no matter what he's saying. And I promise you, of everything he said, I had 6 or 7 of those points written down myself to make about this guy. He is the complete and literal description of a narcissist if I've ever seen one in my entire life. He spent his entire last 9 years in this business preaching about, on multiple forums, let me remind you, there are videos, his podcast or whatever channel or whatever he had, where he is like, there is no forgiveness for cheating men. They consciously made the decision to step out on their wife. Let me tell you, if a man was cheating but got caught cheating, it wasn't his first time. I mean, he had some damning words for other men who sleep with other women, who have side chicks outside of their marriage. And then this man turns right around on the video he's doing with his wife and talks about how unacceptable his behavior was, how he not only broke the sanctity of his marriage, but of his relationship with God, and about how he absolutely expects that people are going to stop following him, but he appreciates those who are going to stay with him. This guy is about that dollar and saving a brand that he saw going under when his shit got exposed. He's deceptive and he's dishonest, because at first he said, listen to this.
Everyone wants to use God to save them all the time, though.
Yes, they do. But this particular guy goes out of his way to preach about how all of these men who were caught cheating before were not only defiling the sanctity of their marriage, but of their relationship with God. Bruh, what? Bro, what?
I'm not even religious anymore, but
no, I am not either. But that's the point that I'm trying to make, is how can you sit there and make all of those claims against all of these Black men in the past, and you have been, and keep this in mind, in the interview, make note that both him and his wife admit that this is not the first time it happened. She stated that she stayed multiple times in this situation. Let me tell you something. Not only is he deceptive and dishonest, but his wife is either a victim to that comfortability that I was just speaking to earlier, or she is also purposely trying to help him clean it up for the purpose of saving this brand. Because she made, unless she is being held victim, and I don't know that
she's held victim, no.
Right? It could be one of these situations like R. Kelly's ex-wife, where she said she continued to make appearances, but at the same time, he had her like locked away in a room. I don't know the Jackson.
Oh no, he ain't no R. Kelly though.
I don't know what the case may be, but she chose to look the way she did during that interview, which tells me she either just doesn't give a fuck at this point and just like, fuck it, I give up, I submit, I'm gonna be with this man, I'm done fighting, and I'm gonna accept all his bullshit, which could very well be because of the brand, which then would make Pat right, and that there, money motivations could occur. Or it could be that he's so manipulative that he did not even stop to think and say, baby, I'm already going on camera where I'm going to be announcing to the world that I have stepped out on you, that my stepping out on you was inappropriate, and that I have violated you in the sanctity of our marriage. Let's make sure that you're your best self and feeling and looking like your best self, because this is already a humiliating situation for you. No such thing occurred, bruh. I get complete and utter narcissism from this dude, because if you look at Charlamagne's interview, the man didn't just call him donkey of the day and just go off on a tangent. Bruh brought receipts.
Yeah, he brought the receipts.
Hella receipts with him.
So I can respect all that, but I feel like that dude Derrick is he's in a polygamy because the way how his wife was dressed in that interview made no sense at all. It made to the point where, like, are you playing it safe or you're telling me something?
Well,
because I didn't even pay attention to him. I looked directly at her the whole time I looked directly at her because I'm like, yo, this is not making sense right now to me.
It makes sense if you agree with Charlamagne's point that he's a narcissist. Because, I mean, when you think about it, he didn't even care about the appearance of his wife. Because I understand that she should care for her own appearance. But what if she's in a depressive state because of all of this? She has just had to sit next to this man who has admitted to openly humiliating her and being a hypocrite, right? And she is the victim in all of this. It's like he had no protection. Like, his first thought in all of this, when all of this came out, should have been, how do I protect my wife? Because this is the person who, as far as I can tell, has been 100% faithful to him, has expected the same. They gave no indication of polygamy. And I mean, it's 2021. Polygamists have been out now for years, openly and freely. If he's so vocal about all these cheating men, but he can't be vocal about being a polygamist, then he's a hypocrite for that alone. So
that right there, I definitely agree on that. That I can definitely agree on.
I don't buy the polygamy thing. I agree. So I'm gonna wrap it up with this. So here was my what I had officially said. No, I don't believe he's a polygamist. Secondly, I believe his actions were in line with the fact that he 100% knew that he was wrong. Okay. And he tried to clean it up to save his brand. Okay. His wife agreed his actions were inappropriate and that they were in violation of the vows he took, and that this has happened multiple times before. She mentioned about how she left and stayed gone for a while, but then came back because he changed his behavior and showed her he was going to change and really promised, which, yes, she's a fool for falling for it, but it also speaks to when Charlamagne said he was manipulative. Because he knew exactly what to say to bring, yes, she made the decision to come back, but also he knew what to say to bring her back. And I'm sorry, but for me, when it comes to the entire situation, what I see is a wife who is either distraught, and so she does not care about her appearance in that interview because she was just trying to get through it, probably because he asked her to. Or B, she just really is honestly the doting wife who can't see past the fact that this man has no respect for her. As far as he is concerned, bruh is a joke. Okay, he was a joke for his message in the beginning. This whole notion that any man who cheats is this and this and that. First of all, women cheat, men cheat, regardless of the race.
Yep, okay? Everybody cheats.
Everybody cheats, and everybody who's a cheater who committed to be faithful is an asshole. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, Spanish, male, Chinese. It doesn't matter. So his message that he was trying to damn black men to the depths of hell for cheating and all of that in the first place was hypocritical bullshit. And now that he's gotten exposed for his behavior, his whole I apologize to my wife is also bullshit. You weren't even, most of the time you were looking directly in that camera because you're trying to save your brand, bro. You're a fake and a phony, period. Yep. And I agree with Charlamagne.
Yeah, I agree with Charlamagne. And real quick, I think the problem with this whole thing, because we obviously heard of people who've cheated, and we hear about celebrities all the time who stepped out on their wives, et cetera, et cetera. But with Derrick Jaxn in particular, he had a certain brand, he had a certain image, and just like you mentioned before, you know, he was basically sending these black men to hell for you know, for their indiscretions, but he embodies he embodies that same thing that he was pointing, trying to send these black men to hell for. So yeah, dude's definitely a hypocrite. And that's why I think that's why this is so big, because what he did, it goes against his whole brand. It's not like he's an athlete. Mm-hmm. It's not like, it's not like he's a rapper or, he's not an actor or anything like that. He was the the self-love ambassador.
Exactly.
And
he literally said, I have no sympathy for a man who cheats. He literally said those words.
Right. He said
and
that.
And then you turn around and want us to have sympathy for you, bro. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's just like, everybody is definitely making sense. But the thing with the end of the product is he's definitely saving this brand. Now, everyone enjoys, I wouldn't say everyone, but when you start doing evil things, evil still takes over no matter what. So he did an evil act, but at the end of the day, my man's about to sell more books probably, but yet people still gonna hate him. But at the end of the day, it's like he won no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy thing.
That's the crazy thing.
That's the crazy thing.
Well, because
50% off.
Bad publicity is good publicity in Hollywood. Any publicity is good publicity in Hollywood, right? Because at the end of the day, the point is to stay relevant. Even if you're staying relevant with negativity, you're staying relevant, right?
That's true.
And so in the world, in the Hollywood world, this was yet another opportunity for people to hear some of his bullshit rhetoric, if we're just being honest, right? And for him to sell his bullshit rhetoric and now move on to a new chapter. Now his next chapter is going to be, I was a flawed man and I made those mistakes I talked about. Here's what I learned from it. I learned from it that you can kiss my ass. How about that? Because I was never one of those. I think we briefly touched on this before, but I was never one of those people anyway who are like goals and stuff. When I see a celebrity couples, I don't give a fuck about what Cardi B and Offset are doing or not doing, or Sierra and Russ are or not doing. Yeah, at the end of the day, my relationship, the best guide for me and my relationship is communication between me and my spouse. Not what some other couple is doing. Yes, that's not to say I don't ever take advice. I listen when people talk and share their experiences, but I do not take everything that everyone says as gospel. You have to take accountability at the end of the day for your own relationship. You cannot look to a celebrity couple as the end all be all of how relationships should be. Bitch, Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce.
Right.
And he still got Beyonce. He still got her. See?
Who did you cheat with? Like, so at the end of the day, it's like you can't, for me, it goes back to what Pat was saying about the message and not the messenger. It goes back to what I was saying about accountability. Take accountability for your own actions. Bruh should have came out and said, yeah, I cheated. You know what I'm saying? Whole time I was spitting to y'all about being a cheater and damning my brothers, I apologize. He should have started with an apology to his wife and then an immediate apology to the black male community. If I'm just keeping shit a G. Yep. Okay? Yep. If I was a black man, I would be offended that this dude spent 9 years damning us to hell just to be a cheater him damn self.
He wasn't going to do that though.
Yeah, come on. He was definitely going in and out of them side chicks, I can tell you that.
Like I said, we can't be saving these hoes. So
yeah, well, in that case, he would be saving himself.
He's saving himself. Yeah. He went quickly to the Lord.
Right. He the hoe.
Saving himself to the Lord.
He the hoe that he's saving because the Lord. I hope he do get good with his dog because listen, honey. He has absolutely stepped out of his vows and everything that he has been speaking on from a religious perspective. And in that video, he kept, dropping Jesus' name and all of this. Okay, bro.
Yeah,
you
that was
confused and narcissistic as fuck. That's what
I really see now. Now I'm waiting to see the end game behind this whole thing. Now that's what I'm waiting to see now. Because I like how you use the Jay-Z and Beyonce reference and whatnot. And that end game from that one didn't even change much. But somehow they got a kid together. But that's just me just saying something.
Multiple kids, I think. But
yeah, I forgot they got multiple now.
Right, I think multiple kids. All right, fellas, I think we definitely got our feelings out on that one. Excuse me, I was a little passionate on that subject because I've been researching it all week, and then
so good.
I capped it off with the Charlamagne. and just one real quick thing. Generally, my relationship with Charlamagne is like, sometimes I 100% agree with him, and sometimes I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? This time, though, every word of it, I was like, yes, you better go ahead and hit that point.
Yeah, I heard it, and I agree with everything he said.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
you alone on this one, man.
Right. Exactly.
Like I said, I'll be the lone wolf on this one. I'm just not giving that man any credit at all. Just because he had a little part in, Lil Duval gave him a little part in the song. Now my man feel like, he think he gonna feel like an expert. But yeah.
Lord have mercy. Okay.